Cheers, everybody. What's up? Aha. I want a little bourbon Coke Zero again tonight.
No, not you. Sean. He
Of
threw up
course.
the Coke Zero.
Just the Coke Zero tonight, boys.
Yeah, just water tonight.
Man,
Hydrating.
NBA happy hour, and I'm the only one drinking. All right. Well, that's how we go. So welcome.
Good.
Welcome to NBA Happy Hour, part of the Riverfront Podcast Network, brought to you by the Blue Wire Media Network. As here, that's the Riverfront's NBA Passion Project show to talk nothing more than basketball. And today we're going to dive into the Olympics. You know, the only time that we can actually be happy to be Americans anymore. So I'm Tim Daniel. Joining me as always, Sean Mackey, Parker Fields, and friend of the show coming back once again. This is your fourth time on the show now, Kevin Lynch.
That sounds right. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. So we're going to get into the Olympics. We're going to break down the groups. We're going to talk about everything going on there. We're also going to do our starting five of our all-time NBA gold medal Olympians. I only went USA because no one wants to talk about 2004. And then we'll get to all that and a whole lot more. So let's start with a couple transactions that happened since the last time we recorded, guys. And obviously the big one is DeMar DeRozan is now a member of the Sacramento Kings. And many different thoughts come to mind here. Obviously, Sean and I spent way too much of our lives faithful to one franchise owned by Jerry Reinsdorf that was on the other end of this trade. Kevin Lynch, once a season ticket holder of said franchise. So the context there will be very, very interesting to hear that dynamic. But on the Sacramento Kings side, let's start here. I love this. I think this is an awesome fit. I think that group of there's going to be times where they're going to run a group of Fox, Monk, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis. That is like straight buckets. That is nothing but buckets. Defense, whole different story. But the offensive side of things is going to be really, really fun there. I think it's a great fit. It's an awesome vet to help those guys out. I know he doesn't have a title to his name, but that's a guy who's done a lot of things in basketball. He's just
maybe a top 10 scorer all time when he retires.
More than likely, the way things are going.
As it sounds.
But yeah, I'll start with you guys. Sean, we'll get you in there first, man. We'll talk about the bad part in a second, but we'll talk to Rose and the Kings first.
So huge win for the Kings here. They're getting a guy who's coming off of 3 of the best seasons of his career. We did get the pleasure to watch some really fun DeMar DeRozan games over the last couple of years. He was the one bright spot on this team that, really helped. I mean, especially that first year he was there, like the first, 4 months of that Bull season when he arrived was phenomenal. Yeah. Like I was so excited for this team. It was, of course, false excitement like always, but, huge win for them. And like you said, man, just getting buckets. He's going to be out there, with these younger guys. I think this is just going to be a great fit for them. They've already got a lot of shooters and a lot of scorers. And I just think that he is going to be such an asset for them to have, especially in the playoffs. He's also remarkably durable too. Like he's usually out on the floor. Like he's usually playing. And, I was never a huge DeMar DeRozan fan before he came to Chicago. And, he was the guy that Kawhi got traded for, and Kawhi ended up, winning that title, which I think almost made DeMar DeRozan look worse, because it was like, okay, all you had to do was swap that guy out, and they had a winning basketball team. And, man, I just didn't watch enough of him in Toronto. I didn't watch enough of him in Toronto. I didn't watch enough of him at all in the Spurs. And then seeing him come to Chicago, he was so, so good. And I think that the Kings, they got him on a pretty good deal here. They had money to spend.
Yeah.
And this is what you spend money on. You spend money on a guy that brings you up a level. The West is really tough right now. I mean, I don't know what this team's going to look like, come, next spring, but this is a guy he gets you to the playoffs. You get in the playoffs. This is kind of a scary team.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean. I think this might be arguably, if he's still the same player he was the last 2 years, not even the 3 years ago, DeRozan, if he's still that guy he was the last 2 years, 3 years, $70 million, $23 million a year is an absurd contract. Yeah. Seriously, that is nothing in the NBA today. By the time Keegan Murray gets paid, he's going to be like the 5th highest paid player on his current team. Like seriously, like
Mhm.
that is a steal of a contract for the Kings. And DeMar DeRozan likely just wanted to, have a chance to compete. Wanted to compete, but still wanted to be a very high volume scorer and have a big role, 100%. And I love this deal for the Kings. The only concern, kind of, I have a little bit is like you were just talking about that Monk, Fox, DeRozan lineup. Like DeRozan just is kind of very ball dominant, even though he's not a point guard. Like he's a really good facilitator. He's gotten way better at that as he's gotten older, and he's shown the ability to play sort of that point forward position. Like if you watch Bulls games, he brings the ball up the floor a lot of the
Yeah.
game. And my thing, my thing is fit wise. Just somebody's gonna have Malik Monk likely is gonna have to play off the ball a lot more if all three of them are gonna be in lineups together because DeRozan can't spot up and shoot unless he miraculously going into year 16 learns how to catch and shoot threes. Which I mean, he's not really terrible at it. So unless he starts taking threes, I'm not as big a fan of the fit as you guys are. I'm gonna be honest, but for the deal, for the price, I think the Kings have it's a no-brainer move. Like you're not going anywhere if you don't sign DeMar DeRozan there. So I think it's a no-brainer, but I'm not positive in the fit.
Parker, you kind of just what you last said was kind of be my point. Like I like it, I don't love it maybe as much as you do, Tim, because of the fit. I like the contract. DeRozan might be the most accomplished basketball player that's ever played for the Kings. Like if you think about that, so just literally the legitimacy of the franchise and getting somebody like that. But I agree. I don't think he is the best fit, nor elevates them more than like a notch or two. Like say before this deal, I would have been like, they're like a 6 seed to a playoff team, to a play-in team. I'd be like, now they might be a 5th seed, right? It's
that's like, how I feel.
Yeah,
it's like they could maybe get the 4 if they have a crazy good year.
Right.
Like I don't think they're gonna move much better than that.
I agree. I have no problem. And if I was the Kings, if I was the GM, you absolutely do this move. I don't think I think it's a nice, solid single, maybe stretch it to a double, but it's not a home run, basically, for me. That's kind of where I'm at.
But what do you do if you're the Kings? You have money to spend. There's he was the best guy out there you could go out and get because they wanted Lauri Markkanen. It sounded like that was who they really wanted. They weren't, and Danny Ainge was like, nah. So, I mean, for a team to be able to get a former All-Star like this, I mean, you got to take a swing at it, right?
Mm-hmm. An All-NBA guy.
Yeah, I would even say still an all. Like he didn't make the All-Star team this year, but he should have. Like he was definitely snubbed from the All-Star team. He averaged
second, the clutch player of the year voting.
Yeah, 24, 5, and 4 this year. And you look at his second half numbers, he averaged close to like 20.
Oh my god, he was awesome post All-Star.
Yeah. So this is still an elite player in the NBA. It's just I don't really think it moves the needle in the West at all. I think Lauri Markkanen would have been a home run, but I think for fit wise, I think DeRozan's like a double. That's actually a good analogy there.
Yeah, and like a lot of moves in the NBA, like I like this move, but I could turn out loving it if they make another move that complements it.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of what you're saying, like I don't think you can win in the NBA when like none of your starting 5 plays very good defense at all. And so if they end up making a move to get like an elite defender that doesn't really need to do much on offense to complement some of those other guys, then I turn around and I like the DeRozan move even more. But yeah, no, I agree with what Sean said. Markkanen was a home run. This is, a step down from that, but still a move you absolutely make if you're the Kings.
Yeah.
I'm curious real quick, your guys' take on this. Who's their 5th starter right now?
I'd say Keegan Murray.
Well, no, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Lyles, and Fox. That's 4, right?
Sabonis.
Oh, I didn't say Sabonis. I said Lyles. I meant Sabonis. Sorry. So who's the 5th starter?
Sabonis, Murray, DeRozan, Fox.
Because Herter was terrible last year.
Yeah, he was not good. He
ended up getting
really
benched.
Bad.
So that's why I'm asking. So they were starting Keon Ellis even before Herter got injured for the season. So that's why I'm asking. Because Barnes going to be gone.
I think it might be him because he's the closest thing they have to like filling the role that the other guys don't do as far as defense, hustle plays, and everything. So I think it might be Ellis unless they get somebody else.
Yeah, because Barnes is on the Spurs now. So
for the record, I love that move for the Spurs too. Really love them getting Harrison Barnes. So on the other end of this, I'm going to go ahead and first say that I do think even though it's only 3 years, I think I would put, if I was in charge of the NBA 2K all-time franchise teams, I would make DeMar DeRozan an all-time Bull on that team because those 3 years were unreal, the things he did.
Yeah.
With that being said, in typical Chicago Bulls fashion, like Sean and I have been have a tendency to talk about, they dropped the ball once again in this. This is a nightmare. This is a disaster. You gave up your potential All-NBA All-Star guy for second-round picks and Chris Duarte when you had lottery picks on the table at the trade deadline. You had chances to get first-rounders, multiple first-rounders, and you didn't. You had the same situation with the Kings with Alex Caruso when they were offering you picks. You didn't do it.
Because he wanted to sell that extra play-in game ticket.
Right.
Seriously.
And they didn't even get a... Yeah,
that one game. That one game.
Yeah. Kevin had those tickets. He can attest to what it's like. But in typical Bulls fashion, they dropped the ball. They still suck. They're still a nightmare. I understand the rebuild. I understand what they're trying to do. I don't think they've done a terrible job necessarily. I like getting Jalen Smith. I like having all the shooting around Josh Giddey, but also I still kind of feel like they're still too good to be in the top 4 in the draft next year right now. I still feel like there's like the Zach LaVine piece. We can say what we want about him. Well, he was terrible last year. I'm well aware, but he's not going anywhere. No one's going to trade for him, and he's still going to play on this team.
Too.
And Vooch is still on the
Vooch
team.
is still there.
And Kobe White is the bucket getter.
And Tim, I think you're just such an optimist. Everything you said, you started out saying, I don't think they've done a bad job, but then everything you said makes it sound like the worst offseason job I've ever heard. So,
I like them getting Boo Zealous, but that wasn't because they strategized it. It was lucky.
They're an incompetently run franchise. They have been for over a decade, and the beat goes on. That's pretty much it.
So what's your play here if you're the Bulls? Be like Zach LaVine, go get your stock back up and average 30, hopefully, and then trade him at the deadline. And then just try and lose every game post deadline. Put Kobe White out for the year, Giddey out for the year, just try and lose every game post deadline.
They'll try to dump both of them post deadline. I mean, they're going to go all in for this draft. I mean, they're going to go all in on the Cooper flag, I think. But here's the thing: if things go too well, which could happen because Tim here knows it's going to happen. He can feel it in his bones. There's going to be a stretch where they're going to win, I don't know, like 10.
They're going to show up at the deadline 30 and 26, and they're going to be like,
happens every fucking year. And it's going to end up happening then. It's going to happen again. And, management's going to go, well, let's go for it.
We're too good.
We're too good. We got to go for the play-in. Even when the draft is better. I mean, they could have traded everything just for a shot at Wemby a couple years ago. I would have traded the whole team for a shot at him.
Yeah,
because
seriously,
I know. I agree.
Why
wouldn't you? Just Wemby and a bunch of bums is better than trying to make the play-in with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan when you're not going to win
$90 million.
No, why? Here's my question: why wouldn't they have used Caruso, possibly DeRozan, or in the future like Kobe White or something like? If you're going to tear it down, the assets you have, use the assets that people want to get rid of the assets if nobody does it once. Fine, you want Caruso, we won't even take a huge return, but you got to take LaVine's salary. Yeah. You want DeRozan or you want Patrick Williams, you got to take Vooch's salary. Why would you not do that? That's what I don't understand.
The Warriors were we're offered the best player in this deal of 3 players in this LaVine for Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul. And still said no. That's how much they thought about the Zach LaVine. And I will say, I've been on record saying this a million times. I think we're kind of being disrespectful to Zach LaVine, the player. I really do think there's a reason he's a 2-time All-Star. He has a gold medal. He's done a lot of good things in the league.
Shoots the lights out. Shoots the lights out. When
I understand, once the contract. I totally get that part.
It's recency bias too, because he was horrible when he played this year. But he's been great besides this year. But he was horrible this year.
And he's never won. He's been on teams with talent, never won, and eventually you become the common denominator.
He's been on teams that have talent.
I mean, I think
outside of the 22 Bulls, I don't really think he's been on a team that. I mean, Because there was Cat, Wiggins, and him, but they were babies. They were all 20 years old. So
Yeah. Who was the Kevin Garnett was on that team at that point in his career.
And I don't know. You guys know the Bulls better. Has he ever been on a team above 500?
One.
Okay.
Yeah, the 21-22 Bulls.
Alonzo Ball year when it was
Okay.
like
Yep,
when
got
like they started out those first couple months and I was like, oh my god, they're actually gonna be good.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
Wait, what was their record last year? Not like 2 years ago. I mean, now were they not?
I think they were like 39-43.
Yeah, because they're in the play-in, so they're in the East. They're probably just below 500. Would be my
Yeah.
guess.
I mean,
I think they were the 9 seed both the last 2 years, right?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
and look, I love Kobe White. I chatted about this a million times. Kevin was there in the Slack chat with me every day that he was doing some 30-point game, hitting buzzer beaters, and I was like, I love this dude. But this team is just a nightmare, and like Duarte's fine. I just think you could have done so much better than Duarte for DeRozan. But we will move on because there's other things to talk about. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was just gonna wrap it with that. You got rid of arguably your two most valuable players, Caruso and DeRozan, and you got back Duarte, Giddey, and a couple second-round picks.
Yep.
I will say
that's
this:
it.
I'm higher on Josh Giddey than other people, truthfully, because I just think it was a terrible fit in OKC this year. If you look at his first 2 seasons in the NBA, he looked like a future All-Star in the league.
Yeah,
like 100%. Like I think.
There's
I'm
also
a
that
little
all
higher.
support creepy stuff too.
Yeah, but I also think that shit played a part in why he played like shit this year too. I think that shit got with his head.
it could, but I just think you could have gotten more for Caruso or gotten rid of some of those bad contracts you want to get rid of to give up Caruso. I thought you could have got a better value than just Josh Giddey at Josh Giddey's lowest point, basically.
Yeah, I would have tried to get like Isaiah Joe with Josh Giddey or something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
or one of the 10,000 picks the Thunder have.
wait a minute, you can trade for first.
Yeah, how
round
do you
picks?
not even get a first round pick from the freaking Thunder? How do you like? I feel like Presti would just be giving them away, but he's still every year they have 3 first rounders they draft.
Yeah.
Bums. That's why, Parker, because they're bums. And let's talk about teams that aren't bums. Well, they might be, but they're starting to look like they're not. Philadelphia gets Caleb Martin, and I think this is just another incredible addition to a fantastic offseason. Obviously, they get the biggest fish that was out there to start the show with Paul George. And I thought, we talked about that last week already. That fit, I think, is tremendous because I think the Maxine and MB cover his weaknesses and just like make his strengths even stronger. And then they go get Caleb Martin, who, he's not much of a shooter, but is a dude that wins basketball games. He does the nitty gritty. He's very physical. He can score, which there's a difference between scoring and shooting. If we've learned anything from the NBA, i.e. Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook, not that he is those guys, but he's a dude you just like win with. He's been to the finals now. He's very aggressive. He's very physical. I love this pick for the Sixers. I think that they have won the offseason.
I couldn't agree more. I love the Caleb Martin move because if on a team with 3 stars, you need people that can fill in the gaps, play defense, make hustle plays, hit the open shot when your stars get doubled. Caleb Martin's like a perfect 4th, maybe 5th guy to go with on this team. I think he's great.
I also have a question for you guys. Who has the Sixers kryptonite been team-wise?
The Celtics.
Celtic. Yeah.
Yeah, so dude's a Celtics killer.
Yeah.
I mean, you even saw, he was obviously had, the most random series ever 2 years ago. And then you saw even last year, that game they won against the Celtics, he hit 6 threes. It was the most random star performance I've ever seen.
It's not only the Celtics. I think it's reactionary getting him. He's a perfect guy to have to go up against the Knicks, who just knocked them out. When the Knicks have, how many 2 guards and wings that need somebody to, defend them and everything. So I think it was probably, you're 100% right, Parker, but then also about the Celtics, but then also reactionary to getting a guy who would help them against the Knicks.
Yeah. So kind of summarize the Sixers offseason so far. So Paul George, obviously, they draft Jared McCain, who, man, I freaking love Jared McCain. I think that is a really great fit for a backup guard. They bring back Kyle Lowry as of today. He signed back for a year, which I think is really nice to have as that backup point guard.
And he just messed his shit up in the playoffs. He just comes in
every year. You get Paul George, you get Caleb Martin, you get Andre Drummond to be your backup to Embiid, who
I love that,
think
by the way.
is in a perfect fit for him and where he's at in his
Love that.
career. I mean, obviously the big thing with the Sixers is always going to be health for obvious reasons, especially now that Paul George is on the team. But dude, on the floor, you put this team on paper, like they are probably the number one league pass team in the league right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be watching a lot of Sixers games this year. This is going to be fun. I think
Sure.
if Embiid can stay on the floor and George can stay on the floor, George wants to win now. Like he wants to win now. That's why he went to Philly. Embiid is like peak of his powers. Getting Caleb Martin, Lowry, Drummond is. I think he's such a phenomenal backup for that kind of a player. Like he's going to be able. He's one of those guys when the team's like playing hot, he also plays hot. Like that's just how he is. He just contributes. So, really fun team. This is going to be great. I'm really happy for them.
I do think the addition of Drummond. I'm happy you mentioned that, Sean, because I forgot about it. I think that helps him a lot with depth at the center position because Paul Reed just wasn't able to really give you more than 10 minutes. Like Embiid was playing 36, 37 minutes. I think Drummond can play 15, 16 minutes, and Embiid only has to play 32, 33 a night,
for sure.
which will definitely help him in the long run because we all know, as great as everything sounds on paper, if Joel Embiid is hurt and banged up in the playoffs once again, they're screwed. It's not going to happen. And he really hasn't been healthy one time in his entire career in the playoffs. So, I don't know.
True that, man. True that. But, I like this team, man. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think the East with the top group now is going to be really, really fun. A couple more things before we move on and get into why everyone's here. Obviously, want to talk about the Pistons give Cade Cunningham the Supermax, which feels a lot more like a you had to move than you're happy to do it move.
Yeah.
I say this in the sense that the Cavs are about to do this with Evan Mobley, and I think the Cavs are more on the excited side of giving Evan Mobley the money than the Pistons are giving Cade Cunningham the money. But I think, you can't trade him because you took him first overall, and this is a guy you're trying to like build a system around, but you're also very well known for not being able to build a system and not be able to do anything right. Don't be wrong. They've had some good free agent signings this offseason. They have made moves that I've actually really liked.
I like Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that
a
a lot.
lot for them. But it's also a guy who's already missed a lot of games. It's also a guy that hasn't developed that we all thought he would. Not saying he's bad. He's obviously a very, very good player. Has a ton of upside to still be a great player. But I think that if I'm strapping this much money to a guy, I think I would have wanted more from him by now. Am I wrong there?
No,
I don't think you're wrong at all, but like this is the NBA. If you have, you can't. The biggest fear is letting a good player get away with for nothing. So it's you sign the guy, give him too much money, and then hope he gets better, or hope you can trade him to somebody to get something in return versus let him just walk away. I mean, unfortunately, it's just kind of where we are now.
Sure.
I hate giving a player this much money when there was so much hype for him coming into the NBA, and he seemed like he was going to be such a game changer, like from the start, the get-go, and that team has sucked. That team has just sucked the last couple of years, and he's missed a lot of games. Second year, I think he missed like 60 games or something like that.
Yep.
If you're not winning, and this guy was the number one pick, like the guy, this is going to be like your messiah that's going to come out on the floor and turn your franchise around, which was the initial thought about this guy. Throwing that much money at him when nothing has really happened yet, I don't know, man. I think they're going to regret it. I honestly think he already needs to change the scenery. Like, I think he needs to get off of that team, and I don't think they're going to just trade him either. Like, he's locked down. I don't know, man. I don't feel great about it.
Here's what I'll say before, and I don't mean to cut Kevin or Parker off by that point by any means. I do think they did the right thing this year in changing the front office. I think getting Troy Weaver to come in, I think that was a good step in the right direction. A lot of people hate the Ron Holland pick. I feel like you have to take that pick in that circumstance because he can score. Again, not much of a shooter, just like everyone on the Pistons, not much of a shooter. But, and then, I mean, I think the Monty Williams thing was just like, he was probably way too far advanced for those guys. They were all so young and they were all still learning how to be pros. And Monty Williams was a guy who's been around a long time, so I didn't think it just didn't mesh. So I think that JB Bickerstaff can be a really good coach for those guys. I really think he can. You see what he did in Cleveland, and he just wasn't the guy to take Cleveland to the next stage. I think Cleveland was in the spot. They're probably in better shape than Detroit was when he got the job there. But
the best thing for JB, the best job you ever want to take is when you can't do worse than the previous guy.
Right.
So
for sure. Yeah. I mean, he took over for John Beeline in Cleveland after John Beeline called his players thugs.
Yeah.
So, you only go up from there.
He's a fantastic opportunist. I'll say that. Give him that.
Yeah. But
I was going to say this about Cade. Yeah, is it like an overpay and everything? Yeah, but like you have to. You can't let your first overall pick from 3 years ago walk. You just can't. So it's like you just have to do it. It's one of those things that's going to happen with everybody. Mobley's good. Scotty Barnes just got paid the same amount of money. I wouldn't pay Scotty Barnes that money either at this point. Honestly, he's been better than Cade, but still, that's a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
For what? Scotty Barnes, I don't think is ever going to be the best player on a title contending team. Could be probably number 3 or 2.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Like the thing is, Cade is incredibly talented. Like you can see, you can see the talent. He's also been in literally the worst situation in the NBA. His situation has been worse than the Bulls. That's how bad his situation's been. And so, do you really give up on somebody super talented he's probably like 22 years old and not pay him? I mean, it's a ton of money, but I think it's better than just letting him walk away at this stage.
I'll say this about every contract now, and I understand he's very valuable. I get all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Hartenstein makes $30 million a year now. So anything, that is my baseline for everything now. Isaiah Hartenstein makes $20 more million than DeMar DeRozan. That's just absurd for the same amount of years.
We had a good question in the chat. I just want to let you know we do appreciate it. We're not ignoring you. That's our big topic later. It's who's the biggest threat Team USA should be worried about. That's going to be the big point of our conversation. Which we're touching a couple things. Last thing before we get into Olympic talk, the new TV deal starting in 25-26 is got some mixed reactions on the interwebs. I'm kind of excited about it in the sense that we're going to have national NBA games every night, but I can understand the people who are not very excited about it. So beginning 25-26, NBA will air nationally televised games 7 days a week once the NFL season ends. So the weekly schedule will be Monday will have Peacock, Tuesday NBC, Wednesday ESPN, Thursday Amazon, Friday ESPN Amazon, Saturday ESPN Amazon, Sunday NBC ESPN. So like I text Sean, I'm very excited that Roundabout Rock is going to be back in its rightful place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have
Finally.
I'm going to have my NBA on NBC Sundays. That was like the greatest thing ever. Kevin, you're from that generation. You know exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Man, it was the best. And I'm also stoked that every night I'm going to have a national NBA game. So if I don't have League Pass, which I will, then like I have NBA games to watch every night. That's going to be great. Now, I do understand the argument of people who are like, well, we're going to be jumping channel to channel. We aren't going to know where it's going to be. I get that side of it. But overall, I think this is a good thing for this being the second biggest brand in professional sports in the country. The second most popular sport in the world besides soccer, football, whatever you call it, wherever you're from. I think this is great. And I think it's going to be awesome.
I agree. I agree. I'm not big into getting into the media stuff, but like literally two things. One, NBC should be required to like dust off Ahmad Rashad and bring him back for the first year. That's and then people don't like it just because they don't like change or they don't like complexity. Like, well, I don't know what night of the week I have to like find it on. You know what? We get free basketball included in our packages every single night for like this is a great thing.
Yeah, for 3 months we literally get basketball, national basketball every night.
You know what's crazy? Because I just looked it up. I've never been alive since the NBA has been on NBC.
Right. Yeah. So like when we're talking, like
it
Parker,
ended in the 01-02 season, and I was born later in 02.
Parker,
That's crazy.
NBA on NBC had a video game for PlayStation.
A very good.
I've seen that, and I've seen old clips of Ahmad Rashad. Like I knew it was on NBC before I was born. Like I've seen
the NBA was like the best television.
Wasn't the finals on NBC too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
All the Bulls
watching,
finals, the '90s finals.
I remember watching like the Rockets versus Knicks finals was on NBC. Like I've seen, like obviously I've watched those games and stuff. So that's what I thought.
Sydney says, sad that TNT isn't included right now. I guess there's still the rumor that they are considering matching.
I wish they did.
But they just got this incredible Big East deal too as well. So I think that they're not hurting.
And
but
they have March Madness, MLB playoffs.
Here's the other thing with the 7 games. Not everybody has every service. So if you do have one of these services, you'll be able to at least check out a game a week.
Yeah.
You know, if you're into that, you know, I mean, I feel like most people that are into sports have more than one of those services, just, or if they're, you know, a movie buff or whatever, whether it's, you know, Amazon or I don't have Peacock. Like that's the only one I don't have. So like, I'm hoping that gets bundled into something else. And then, you know, I'll be able to have those games.
Start watching Love Island, Sean.
Oh boy. But yeah, man, I don't have Amazon, so I think this is finally where I'm going to get the point where I can have it and tell my wife it's for work, so I can get away with it. So
I just want to shout out my wife Marisa brought me a beer so Tim didn't have to drink alone. So and she tried to army crawl in so you guys couldn't see her.
We wouldn't have judged. So what kind of beer do we have? What are we drinking?
I asked her to give me. I got some Cincy Lights for you guys.
Oh,
hang out with you guys. I asked her to bring up one of these.
Okay. It's really cool you have beer for the second best school in Cincinnati.
Yeah, right.
I feel bad.
Well,
I was hopping the mini fridge real quick. I had to grab a Mick Ultra.
Kevin, check this out. So we had our live show this past weekend at Spoke Justice, and Parker had his first bourbon.
Oh, good for you, Parker.
I've drank. Well, no, I've had Jack Daniels before, but like that's my first non-Jack Daniels. Yeah, exactly. That's like, yeah.
That's like when people like talk about moonshine, they talk about Old Smoky Mountain. That's what Jack Daniels is. Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get to why we're here, gentlemen. This is the time of my favorite time of basketball. Is every 4 years where we get to see the Avengers come together and play. And that's exactly what we're getting this year because it is the one last hoorah for most of these guys. But we're also seeing what the future of the USA basketball looks like after this group moves on, because the death we saw starting last night with this exhibition against Canada, I was really worried about American basketball like after this group. And now after watching last night, I feel significantly better just seeing who was out there and who's on the roster and obviously who's coming. Couple things I want to get to before we get to the game. First things first, obviously the Kawhi news is as shocking and just unpredictable as possible. No one saw that coming. Right?
They didn't want him.
So there's like 7 stories out right now. So yes, apparently
that's the one I've seen the most.
Apparently Kawhi's camp reached out to USA and said they had concerns. And then USA basically came out and was like, we sent him home, which basically tells us that he was planning on not playing.
That's the most believable one to me. Like they have concerns. They basically want him to load manage or sit out games until the Olympics. And they're like, look, we just don't want to put up with this. Go home. We'll go get Derek White, top 10 point guard.
Also, I did want to mention real quick though, because this just kind of, I didn't like the way like the story was told though, because like I'm sorry, a healthy Kawhi Leonard you want on your damn Olympic roster. I'm sorry, he's still a top 5 to 6 American basketball player in the world. So that just and I hate Kawhi Leonard. Like I'm not a fan, but like it kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
I wish
I was reading how some of them were talking about it. I just didn't like it. I was like, all right, come on.
So I agree with the first part, Parker. He is still a top 10-ish or whatever you want to say player in the world. But I disagree with wanting him on the team because you can't count on him. Like I would rather have somebody you can count on that is a notch below talent wise, but I know he's going to be there. I know he's going to play hard. I know isn't going to like ask out of the game or sit out one of the qualifying games.
Like 10 minutes before you're supposed to go play,
yeah, that's it. Like if you told me for sure Kawhi's playing, he's 100% committed, blah, blah, blah. Like then yeah, of course I'd want him, but I don't know how you can trust that at this point. It's been 5 years of this stuff.
Yeah.
I did.
Why didn't KD play last night?
He's resting his calf.
Yeah, he hurt his calf apparently on like the first day of practice, and so they're just.
They say it's not severe, but
yeah, he's still going. He's still going to Dubai with them, and they plan on him still being in the Olympics, but they just didn't want to push it last night.
kind of nuts that if they do in fact deliver on what their expectations, he becomes the greatest American basketball player of all time. Like,
He already is, honestly.
I still think I give it to Melo because Melo stuck through all the bullshit, but we'll keep that for the draft later, guys. Keep that for the draft. Let's not bury leads here. So Derek White comes in. I think it's great fit for the perimeter defense. A lot of people, myself included, would have been very happy to have Jaylen Brown be on the team. Some of the stories that are coming up about that are also very stupid to me when they're like, well, Nike didn't want him there because I'm like, okay, if Nike controlled who all played, I don't think Steph Curry would be on the
It was
NBA.
him who tweeted that, though.
Who
tweeted that, though.
Yeah. Last I checked, Joel Embiid wears Skechers. I think they would have had an issue with that. And Steph Curry would not be on the team because he is the number one seller of a rival brand. So I think that
Anthony Edwards is the number one seller of another rival brand. Yeah, exactly.
People are talking about Anthony, people are talking about wearing Anthony Edwards shoes with jeans. Do people understand how ridiculous that is? Come on now. But I think Derek White's a good fit. I think at this point, Halliburton probably becomes the last guy. And not that he's not better than Derek White, but in this circumstance, I feel like he's probably the 12th man because he's not going to give you as much as Derek White is perimeter defense wise, and they already have plenty of scoring.
And Drew Holiday's a starter.
Yeah, and that's okay. And that's okay that you're not that guy yet, because I think you will become LA in 2028 for sure. Other thing I'm going to talk about from there, Cooper Flag just killing everybody in the select team, just dominating.
Amazing.
Dude,
Amazing.
These clips were unreal. He's taking it to KD and Anthony Davis. I love this draft class coming up. I know I know Cooper Flag is the rightful number one pick in this draft coming up, and I think he's going to have an incredible year at Duke. VJ Edgecombe is my personal favorite player. Not that I think he's better than Flag. I'm just super stoked for VJ Edgecombe. But dude, Cooper Flag is the real freaking deal, man. I cannot wait to see what this dude does for the future. Can we just put him on the roster and just have him play? Still,
skip
be
his
Christian
year?
Laettner.
Yeah, can we skip his year at Duke so I don't have to hate him forever as a basketball player because he went to Duke?
Yeah, I know. It kind of sucks.
Yeah,
because I know in about 4 months I'm gonna hate his guts. So it's
not forever, but it'll take me about a decade to get over the fade. That's about how long it took me to start liking JJ Redick. After
I love JJ.
Yeah,
it took a podcast. Yeah. Took a media company.
Yeah.
For me, it took him to become the Lakers coach.
Yeah. So, all right, let's kind of get into a little bit, and I just kind of go through a couple things here. So, first thing I want to mention for those who don't know, the difference. They kind of broke this down last night. By the way, I thought the presentation last night was great with Gus Johnson calling the game and Raftery and
loved him.
Grant Hill coming in doing a few minutes.
Do you know? Are they doing the Olympics?
Dwayne Wade is doing the Olympics.
He's the color guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't remember who play-by-play is, but
I was hoping last night meant Gus Johnson and Raftery were going to do the whole Olympics.
Well, that was really funny because there's that thing where Gus Johnson's like, I'm not supposed to say this, but these guys work for CBS and I work for Fox. And I was like, oh, okay, Gus. FIBA rules versus NBA rules, just a couple quick things. So 10-minute quarters versus 12. 3-point line's a little closer, obviously. Timeouts are broke down differently. 2 in the first, 3 in the second, instead of 6 total. You foul out on 5 fouls, 2 free throws for each notch. So every foul is basically 2 free throws in a roundabout way, except for, I think, loose ball fouls. I think it's the only one. Anytime the ball strikes the rim, a player can play it off the ball, which gives France a total advantage, especially because of no defensive 3 seconds. So I thought that was kind of something we could kind of break into. You guys want to talk about the game last night first? Or you want to get into groups?
I say talk about the game first. Just talk about the USA team, and then we can talk about the Olympics as a whole.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, that works for me. Sean, I assume since it was late at night, you did not make much of the game or any at all.
I did not. I was fast asleep.
That's fine. That's fine. But I thought, first off, I thought Canada was the best team to be the first friendly because it's a team that's also really stacked. You kind of see how they can play against top tier competition. Canada's very guard heavy. And you saw that last night with guys like Murray and SGA. Kind of shocked Andrew Wiggins didn't play, considering he's been on the Canadian national team, I think, since he was, 12 years old. But
yeah, the 1 year they have a shot now, he's not playing.
Yeah,
in the Olympics.
It was weird. But there's like 4 or 5 observations I had last night. First off, it's having a moment where we see Steph Curry throw an alley-oop to LeBron James
It's
was
awesome.
like, dude.
Yeah.
Someone put a clip up today I saw on Twitter where it's that and the music playing over was "Father Hold My Hands" by Kanye West, and I was like, perfect. And then, so I thought that was really cool. Having that moment at post game when they're doing the post game interview together and they're talking about how fun this is to be on the same team was neat. So that part, just like the sake of like being a diehard basketball fan, and those two being the most generational players of their era, I thought was incredible. Just because it's like it's Captain America and Iron Man coming together, right? Like it's literally like the basketball version of that. Basketball wise, I was really actually happy they struggled to start out and had to figure things out on the go. I thought that was awesome. Just kind of seeing them learn little by little. You can see they're really sloppy at first. They were down 11-1 to start the game.
I took USA money line when it was 11-1. I got like minus 120.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's good.
I
move.
live bet it.
It's a good
I live
move.
bet it when they were down 11-1.
And I think I'm at the point where I think Anthony Davis might end up being this team's best player in the tournament. He was unbelievable last night, and I thought the way that him and Anthony Edwards worked together in the second unit was incredible. So even though they was sloppy and it took them 3 quarters to kind of take off, I still feel like they're unbeatable.
Yeah, Embiid looked horrible. He was fouling. He fouled out in the third quarter. Really don't know what was up with him. He was getting into it with Dwight Powell. I just feel like he should have punished Dwight Powell, but he really didn't. Yeah, like you said, I kind of liked the fact that they were down early, had to get things going. I liked LeBron kind of, just like being a Swiss Army knife on the team. He's kind of like being like Draymond Green, like on the USA team, which is good because he's going to be the best player on your team at literally everything besides scoring. Like he's going to be your best rebounder, facilitator, all that shit, which is good because he can do all that stuff. And when he's playing with superstars, he wants to do that rather than, shoot every time down the floor. He'd rather facilitate and stuff like that. And I think, like you said, Tim, I won't be shocked if Anthony Davis gets the starting job too at some point on this Olympic team.
Yeah.
I realistically think they might start Davis and Embiid together.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely should
that.
versus France.
Yeah, it's a good call.
France and probably Serbia just have 2 buys you can throw at Jokic.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the game last night and was glad. I had the same thought. Glad that they struggled a little bit, had to face some adversity right away. Everything. The three things I wrote down. 1, the defensive intensity was awesome.
Yes,
like
it was.
I did not expect them to come out in, basically a friendly or exhibition that intense on defense and like literally just hounding like those Canadian guys. Like Jamal Murray looked like he was ready to go home by the second quarter.
Yeah.
So thought that was awesome. Second thing I thought, like the Anthony Edwards quote is just amazing that like I'm the number 1 option ever has to fit around me. But you know what? He might be right.
He
awesome might be the best offensive option on this team. And frankly, I think if push ever does come to shove, he should be in the top 5 of guys on the floor, crunch time in a close game or whatever. So I thought that. And then third thought, and I want to throw this at you guys. I think last night proved we can fix the All-Star game. USA versus the world instead of East versus West.
Dude, so the WNBA does Team USA versus the WNBA All-Stars for their All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they only did that. They're only doing that during the Olympics, though. They don't do that every year.
Like, do it forever.
Well, yeah.
I was going to say, they don't normally do that, though.
Well, the All-Star game literally couldn't be worse. It's the worst sporting event of the year. So, like, why not give it a try? And honestly, you could get pretty even teams, world versus USA at this point. There are so many of the top players in. I went back and looked out of curiosity. I think 6 All-Stars last year were international guys, and that doesn't include Wemby. It doesn't include like Gobert, and so you could make pretty comparable teams that would be a very good
Jamal
game.
Murray.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just thinking that like, could we get something even close to as good as this as an All-Star game if we did like USA versus the world instead of East versus West?
I was gonna say the scary part about USA too is, in my opinion, Canada's their biggest threat. I'm gonna be honest. and they played great last night. And in my opinion, when you're playing with superstars, the best player to just plug in there didn't even play. Like Kevin Durant will literally just slide in and get ran off pin down screens and knock down 15-foot jump shots right over people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does not need the ball in his hands, and he's gonna I bet you he will lead the team in scoring. There's a good chance of that. Like Kevin Durant can just flat out score the basketball, and when he's not going to be double teamed and stuff, it's going to be scary to guard.
He's one of the top guys on the team whose game translates to international. We've seen a lot of guys on the Olympic team, like Damian Lillard is like the biggest example that was just so bad in international play versus the NBA.
Brandon
right?
Ingram.
And there's some guys in this team
Brandon
that,
Ingram,
like you would think after last night, Embiid he not going to translate to this or whatever? But like you're right, Durant, as well as he fits in the NBA, he fits in just as well in international competition, just because of how interchangeable he is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I think that I agree with everything you guys said. I think having LeBron kind of just be like your point forward, which Kerr's mentioned already. He plans to use him quite a bit as the point forward role. I thought that quote was really funny about when they were practicing and he went to Spoelstra and Ty Lue and was like, every day like this? And they're like, yep, every day. This is how hard he practices. So it's cool. He's not just throwing this in like, we're going to win a gold medal because I'm here. I really want this. I really, really appreciate that he sort of tapped in. You can see the guys were really playing around him and really appreciate that as well. So you saw last night at the end of the game when like the huddle for the team, Anthony Edwards and Steph Curry on the other side of the court, and they run real quick to the huddle because LeBron's in the middle to talk to everybody. I thought it was awesome. I'm really excited about this. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see them play again on Monday against Australia at noon. Like, that's just, like, perfect for me because I can put it on while I work. So let's kind of get to the groups real quick, and we'll kind of break down the rules as well. So starting with Group A. So it's 3 groups of 4 for those who don't know. We have Australia, Canada, Greece, and Spain. So Australia is going to be throwing out guys like Josh Giddey, Josh Green, Dyson Daniels, Patty Mills. Probably the most guard-heavy they've been, but this is a team who's medaled a lot. This is a team who's given the USA fits in the Olympics. These are guys who've played together a long time, so it's a team you don't want to overlook. Canada, who you saw last night, SGA, Jamal Murray, Dylan Brooks, Dwight Powell, Kelly Olynyk, Andrew Nembhard, RJ Barrett. It's a good team. Greece, you obviously get the Antetokounmpos. You get Georgios Papagiannis, who I just have this weird feeling is going to be dominant in international play, even though he kind of has this blippy NBA career. I just think he's going to be one of those dudes that you're like how Manu Ginobili came on the scene for Italy in 2002. I feel like Papagiannis could be one of those guys. Not as good as Manu Ginobili, obviously.
I was about to say Rudy Fernandez vibes.
Dude, yeah, he's still playing for Spain. This is
know,
his
I know.
95th Olympics.
Wow.
I mean, this is Ingles and Mills' 6th Olympics.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, so they and that you know what the cool things about Australia is they're not just the Australia national team. They actually have a team name. They're the Australian Boomers. Like yeah, shout out just not being like we're Team Canada. Like let it go with the mascot. I like it. So this is the group everyone's talking about is gonna be the toughest group. This is like the group from hell because there's 4 really good teams. Only 2 teams advance to the knockout rounds. And this is going to be a tricky group. I think Australia for sure is going to be one of the 2 that advances. But I'm really having a hard time with who the second team could be. I think it's probably going to be Australia and Canada. But I think Spain is going to give Canada fits, man. I think it's going to be a really close race.
Yeah, I think this is the most competitive group of the 3 for sure. Like that. The other ones, I think it's much easier to have a good idea who might get out. Ultimately, I agree with you that I would pick Australia and Canada, but like, I mean, Greek Freak is like, he's the best player in this pool. I think even more so than SGA still and everything. And like you said, Spain has a long history of being good. And like, fun fact for you guys, I saw the rosters when Tim sent them and I was like, Rudy Fernandez is playing again. How old is that guy? I went back and looked. He's 4 months younger than LeBron.
Yeah. I just looked it up just now too. I remember him. Literally, the reason I remember Rudy Fernandez is the dunk contest. I remember he had a sick dunk in the dunk contest like 15 years ago.
He's one of those guys. Yeah, he just like, you always wondered why he didn't stick or why he moved around so much. Like I thought his NBA career could have gone a lot better than it did.
I think he could have still hung around the NBA. I think he just
Maybe, yeah.
liked to play in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean,
You'd be right.
those few years in Portland that he had were pretty good. I mean, he was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
He was really good. Group B, we have France, Germany, Japan, and Brazil. I think that there's only two teams, my honest opinion, that don't have a chance of medaling. And it's not an insult to those players, but I think Japan's one of those two. I just think that their roster compared to everyone else in this group is just really, I mean, in the Olympics in general. So Germany, key players, mind you, Germany just won the World Cup last year. You're going to see Dennis Schroeder. You're going to see Mo and Franz Wagner. You're going to see Daniel Tice. Sean will appreciate, you will see NBA 2K legend Isaac Bonga playing for Germany in this tournament. Freaking international stud. France, obviously, Wembanyama, Gobert, Evan Fournier, Nick Batum, Bilal Koulibaly, Teo Maledon. Teo Maledon's going to be one of those sneaky good players in the Olympics. I'm telling you guys, he's going to be one of those dudes. Japan, it's Rui Hachimura and Yuta Watanabe. I don't think they're really scaring anybody as much as I like
Tominaga from Nebraska, Tim.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I forgot about him. And then Brazil, some of the names you'll see: Raul Neto, Bruno Caboclo, if anyone remembers him. I know Sean definitely remembers Cristiano Felicio because that guy got a lot of money from the Bulls. I think this group's pretty easy. I think it's Germany and France. I just think that those two teams are going to advance. I don't think either of these teams can be one of the third place teams either that gets in.
I couldn't agree more. And at opposite of Group A, I think this one's super easy to pick.
Yeah.
And I started out thinking the same as Parker, that Canada was U.S. biggest competition. I actually think it's France.
I do too.
Because France, they might be the third or fourth best team, but the home team bump and they're just weird. That all their best players are so good. Like, I think that's who USA will see in the gold medal game.
I do too.
That would be my guess.
I also wanted to mention real quick about Japan. I just feel like Hachimura might be that guy who averages 30 in the Olympics. Like, their team will lose, but like he probably will be the Rondae Hollis Jefferson of last year's FIBA
from
World
Holland.
Cup.
Yeah.
It's like Hachimura is one of those dudes. He's not a star in the NBA, but like he's one of those just one-on-one bucket get. Like he's probably gonna score a shit ton because who the hell else is shooting for Japan outside of Watanabe and Tominaga?
And the other Watanabe, Yuta's brother.
He has a brother?
Yeah, also on the team. I just think, I think Germany and France are just for sure going to be leaps and bounds better than everyone in this region. Like Germany and France is going to be a good basketball game that if you don't have a rooting interest, you're going to want to watch those two teams play when it comes to that tournament group play. It's just going to be like that. And then on the other side, we have Group C. This is the USA. This is Puerto Rico, who made an incredible run to get in the Olympics. That was awesome. You have South Sudan making their Olympic debut, and then you have Serbia. So USA, obviously, we all know it's the super team. We could list that roster. We're going to talk about that roster for weeks. South Sudan, you're looking at Bull, Thon and Makur Maker, Wenyan Gabriel, JT Thor, Karlik Jones. All guys I really like with upside individually. Or have liked in the past, mainly because Thon Maker had a card in NBA 2K My Team where he was a point guard and he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Parker and Sean know what I'm talking about.
The legend of Thon Maker.
Right. Yeah. But they're the other team besides Japan. I just look at it as they have no chance of medaling.
Karlik Jones is also going to be their leading scorer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a G League legend.
Yeah, he was a G League MVP.
And that's not an insult.
He's a Cincinnati legend as well. Our area.
Went to U of L. Yep.
He's one of those guys that's talent-wise should be in the NBA. It's just how many small scoring guards.
Right. Yeah. Serbia, so obviously they have Jokic. Other guys you'll probably know: Nikola Jovic, Poku, Flip Petrovic. So maybe not the most exciting team on paper, but dudes who have played together a really long time, and that's what you kind
Bogdanovich too.
Bogdanovich, yeah, I think that they're probably the other team that advances to knockout rounds. And then we've got Puerto Rico, who again made the super nice, great run to get in, but I don't think it's going to last very long. Yeah. Jose Alvarado and Tremont Waters are their best players. And say what you will about Jose Alvarado, I don't know if he's kind of the guy that you're like banking on your country getting medaling with. And that's not, I'm not trying to talk bad about it. I'm not trying to say anything like that by any means. It's just kind of like looking at the feel here. I think it's US and Serbia out of this group. I think that's the two teams that advance. And I think the US could go undefeated in group play.
So you're probably right. But of all the teams in this, I'm irrationally excited to see South Sudan.
Me too.
And I'll tell you why, because they actually, well, obviously not nearly as skilled. They actually might be more athletic and faster than the USA team. And like, if I wish I could have applied to be South Sudan's coach, I would do like full court press the entire game, every game.
Run 5 out the whole time.
And seriously, the whole time. Because like, if they get in one-on-one matchups or have to run an offense, it's not going to be pretty.
Right.
But that's like the best team that could probably create chaos in a game against any other country. So like, I think it's the biggest wild card team, and most likely they're done before group play is over and everything. But of all the teams, I think they have the biggest variance of what we might see from them.
Can you imagine if it's like their coach is like, all right, guys, so we're going to run horns. And they're like, looking at him like, have you seen us play, coach? We don't do that.
Yes.
It's nuts. It's incredible they made it. I think it's awesome. The way that Parker was just talking about Rui Hachimura, I feel like Bull could be that guy for them, where he's like 18 and 14 with 4 blocks, and it's like, but they lost by 22. So the other thing too, and we'll get to this here in a second. So we mentioned 2 teams from each group advanced, and the 2 best third place teams advanced to knockout rounds too. I'm trying to figure out who those 2 wildcard teams would be. I think they're from, because it can't be 4 from a group, right? So someone from Group A is not going to make the next round. So if I had to guess those next 2, I'd probably go Spain and this is hard. Maybe Spain and Brazil. I don't love Brazil's roster, but compared to everyone else's, I think it's going to be in 3rd place.
Yeah, I see your Spain. I'm looking at it now. So I definitely don't. I think it will come out of groups A and C. I don't think the 3rd place from B will make it.
Let's go South Sudan. Let's go. Let's get the knockout round, baby.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I actually think one of them will for sure come from Group A. If I had to guess, I would guess Greece, because I always go with the team that has the best player, if it's kind of a toss-up. So I'd say Greece gets one of those last spots, and then sure, I'll go South Sudan with you. Why not? I'm excited for them.
So first game of the whole Olympics is Australia and Spain. That game's going to be awesome. That game is going to be really, really good. That's Saturday. You got Germany, Japan. You got France, Brazil. That'll also be a good game. And you have Greece, Canada. Greece, Canada might be bet the over on that game, because those teams are going to fly. And then Sunday you get South Sudan and Puerto Rico, and then Serbia and United States.
Giannis could go for 50 against that.
Yeah, what is Giannis going to average in the Olympics?
44 and 19 with 7 blocks.
In that group, in group play, maybe.
Yeah.
Because actually, none of those teams have much inside presence at all.
Yeah, Canada's going to throw Mafu Kabengele. Yeah.
Canada's going to throw Dwight Powell on him.
And Kelly Olynyk, yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's the one thing we haven't talked about, Canada. Like, I'm bummed Zach Edey's not playing with them.
I am too.
I was actually excited
Wiggins
to see him.
Didn't play either. That's another
I
agree. Capable player.
Why was that?
So Zach Edey supposedly said no.
Yeah, Zach Edey, apparently he pulled out. And then Wiggins, apparently the Warriors said they didn't want him to play. Like that's a story I read. I mean, there's going to be different stories, but yeah,
can't trade him if he's hurt.
Well, yeah, and like his coach in the NBA is coaching the USA team. So
also,
like,
sure.
is there,
you're not
like
conspiracy theories.
Yeah. It's so I don't know. So we'll kind of break that down. So here's how that works. So each team plays each other in group play. A win is 2 points in standings, 1 point for a loss, and 0 points for a forfeit. Like I mentioned at the end of the play, top 2 teams from each group advance to the quarterfinals. Additionally, the 2 best third place teams move on. 2 highest ranked teams will be in the same pot in knockout rounds. Therefore, we place an options of the bracket. Like Kevin and I said, we both feel will be US and France. Teams from same groups cannot play each other in the quarterfinals. I love that rule. And then after the quarterfinals, of course, you go to semifinals, which is single elimination format. The 2 winning teams in the quarterfinals go on to the gold medal game. The 2 losing teams go on to the bronze game. Pretty easy to explain, but I look at this where I think this is a situation where you mentioned it, Kevin. I'm with you. I think it's U.S. and France are going to be the gold medal game. I just think that size. There's something different in the Olympics about when you go play the host team, because the host team is guaranteed to make the Olympics. So it's not like a thing where it's like they could not qualify. So you're going to be playing the French team in Paris. You're going to have that whole place. They're going to get that bump up. They're going to be fired up. It's going to be awesome, man. And like, it's going to be a great atmosphere for those guys to play in.
If they play in the semifinals or finals, right? Like everything before that's not actually in Paris, right? Okay.
Right. And so I think like that's like, I mean, the games are still in France, so they're going to still bring a crowd. Sure. But man, that's going to be awesome. You know who's going to be like this under the radar guy for France? I was joking about Theo Maladon. We know that Frank Ntilikina is going to have some 22.10 assist game in the
Frankie
Olympics.
Nicotine.
You know for sure that's coming.
Oh, he still might make it in the NBA. We're still waiting for him to come around.
Yeah,
he's still only 25.
I know.
Ntilikina was drafted 10 years ago, it feels like.
Isn't it wild how young guys are when they wash out of the NBA nowadays? Mm-hmm. Because they all come in at 19.
Yeah, it's like Dante Exum, but he came back.
Dante Exum has literally had an unreal comeback. Like failed and went away for a couple years and came back, and he's still like in his mid-20s. So
he was thrown in a trade as like the throwing guy in a Cavs trade. Like the Cavs got him. And now it's like he was starting in the finals for a finals team.
He looked good in the playoffs too. They probably should have played him more, to be honest.
Yeah. So the question here, sorry if I don't get your name here. It's just I just see the flags, the masks. So USA essentially needs 5 wins to get. Yes, it's basically first team to 5 wins. You can lose in group play and still advance. I mean, the team in 21. First off, I don't know how that team won gold, because they were not very well put together team. And Durant. A lot of that was, Durant basically carried them. Yeah. Durant and Jason Tatum carried them. Because you remember in the semifinals against Australia, they were down 18, and then Popovich threw a triangle and 2 on them, and they had no idea what to do. Durant was just like hitting threes. And then the finals against France, I don't know if you remember, they were up double digits, and France made a comeback, and we're down 1 with like 2 minutes to go. So if you ever go back and look at that roster, it's kind of funny. I put in the notes.
JaVale McGee was on the roster.
Zach LaVine, like Kevin mentioned, Damian Lillard was not good in that Olympics.
Keldon
Johnson was good in that Olympics. Keldon Johnson was like
I'm just naming players. Yeah, I'm just naming players though.
You know what, and why I like the way this team's constructed this year. There's a lot of reasons, but like I think Grant Hill kind of learned his lesson from that and got guys whose games translate to the international game much better. Like you look at the 2020 roster, and most of those guys are worse in international competition than they are in NBA, and it's kind of the opposite this time around. They're just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Like you're right. Durant and Tatum are the 2 people that stand out to me from that team, that like their games translate to be just as good in international from the 2020 team.
Yeah, I completely agree. So here is the Team USA roster. I'm sure you know it already, but it's LeBron, Curry, Durant, Embiid, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, and Derek White. Steve Kerr has basically been open that all 12 guys are going to play. He has not shied away from that. He has been very honest about that. The coaching staff is incredible. So Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra, Ty Lue, Mark Few, Will Hardy is like the last coach on the bench. And say what you will about that Jazz team, he's
a hell of a coach.
He's a hell of a coach.
He is an awesome coach.
Yeah. Also, I have one question about the Olympics. I've seen so many people like tweet about stuff like this is the last. Does nobody realize this is Steph Curry's first Olympics?
First time goal for gold medal.
Right.
Wild.
No, because I feel like
It's
people,
wild,
people
but I keep seeing people say stuff like it's his fourth Olympics, like KD and LeBron. I'm like,
but
no,
in
it's
fairness, I had to think about it for a second, and I know this pretty well, but because everyone's seen him in a Team USA jersey before.
Yeah,
They just
the, FIBA
they
games.
kind of don't think it was in the
It's
World
'cause
Championships
it was
twice.
it was the Paul George FIBA World Cup.
Yes.
when he played
Well,
for
he did 2 World Cup teams. Like
Yeah.
it was weird.
Okay.
Was it 2010 and 2014 that he did
Mhm.
something like that? Yeah. But for whatever reason he wasn't on the 2012 Olympics. I think that's right.
The
But
2012 team's hilarious because they were so good that James Harden and Russell Westbrook didn't play.
Yeah.
yeah.
They were the last 2 guys on the bench.
Yeah, Curry
With
just
Anthony Davis.
truthfully wasn't that to that level yet, and he had those ankle problems too, anyways. But
That's true. Yeah, he didn't really start ascending till like a year or two after that. So
yeah,
The Paul George leg injury ended the USA scrimmage that was on TV every Olympic or every time. Yeah, that
Oh.
sucked. Because that game used to be fun. There was 08, they had Kobe versus LeBron. They each picked their own teams for the scrimmage.
yeah.
That was awesome. I feel like when you look at this roster, and I know it's easy to say they're unbeatable and they have no holes, but now that they have Derek White, I feel like he covered like the biggest issue I had with him. And Kevin and I talked about this in different scenarios, not here on podcast, but I was a little worried about perimeter defense with him for a little bit. I feel like him and Drew Holiday, I mean, we just watched them win the championship doing just this, really kind of cover that up for them. And then look, I mean, Jason Tatum's going to be the first or second guy off the bench for this team.
that was one of my predictions that Drew's going to play more than people think.
Yep.
Like, and then, but I was shocked when he was starting last night, but like, he's going to play more because he is definitely
Just a
the best
winner.
guy to go against guards on other teams.
Yeah. Realistically, I think we're looking at, and the 5th guy's probably going to rotate in and out. I think it's just depending the matchup, but realistically, it's probably Durant, Curry, LeBron, Embiid, and then some games will be Davis. Some games might be Anthony Edwards. You mentioned
Tatum.
You mentioned it, Kevin. And Grant Hill talked about it a lot in FIBA in the World Cup last year. He was really upset they didn't rebound very well. Okay, so like LeBron's gonna be this team's 4th center. I mean, like realistically, when they play small ball 5, you can go LeBron, you can go Durant. If you want to go 2 bigs, you can go Embiid and Davis, Embiid and Bam. Mind you, Bam was the starter on the 2020 Olympic team. So, and now he's gonna be the first. He's the first big off the bench. Tells you how much deeper this team got since then. It's going to be fascinating.
I'm trying to think of weaknesses. They don't have a lot. I'm sort of thinking if I had to pick a weakness, it would be like 3-point shooting outside of Curry. Everybody else is
Curry and Durant.
Yeah, but even Durant's he's not as like he's a great shooter, but he's not he's not like a marksman like that. But you have Curry, so that kind of like takes care of that basically. So that would be my fear of the team is that they fall in love with 3-pointers.
You saw a little bit last night, yeah.
Like that would be my fear. This team should never take more 3-pointers than the other team. They should be taking advantage of their athleticism, size, going to the basket all the time. And so that would, if I had a fear with the team, it would be that they fall in love with the 3 and then shoot like 25% one game and let somebody stick around.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that while I do think they're definitely the best team, this is the deepest this tournament has ever been. The talent
100%.
level is incredible. There's so much there. I think that this is probably the deepest it's been. So
how long do you guys think? Do you think in our lifetime the USA is not going to be the favorite in the Olympics? Because it's trending that way.
It's going to be inevitable, but I don't think it's 2028. I really don't.
either.
Because 2028 is in LA, so they're going to have the home court advantage.
Yeah.
2028, you're going to see Edwards, you're going to see Cooper Flag, you're going to see Donovan Mitchell more than likely since he hasn't been on an Olympic team yet. This could be his chance to play. It's coming. I'm with you. It's definitely coming.
No.
I mean, even you look at right now, VJ Ed comes on the Bahamas team. He's a top 5 pick in next year's draft.
Yeah. No, and I was wondering about that. I was like, why is the international catching up with us so much in basketball? Like, is it random? Is it whatever? And somebody did a really great piece, and we don't have to go too far into it, but that it's all development, right? And the biggest thing about the development in USDU sports, they play way too many games and don't practice nearly as much. And in international, it's all practice in significantly fewer games, and that's how they develop. And if that trend continues, like, yeah, I mean, the rest of the world's going to continue to catch up and probably eventually surpass.
Parker can attest. Parker played AAU for most of his teenage years. I mean, like, how many games would you play a day in AAU?
It would be like, so pool play, it would be 2 or 3 games, and then like if you keep winning in your tournament, you could play 5 games in a day at most.
But in AAU, like, you could play in a summer realistically like 60 games and have like 15 practices, like all summer long.
Probably less than that. Honestly.
You're probably
like
right.
Once a week for I'd say probably like 10 practices in a summer, 12.
And depending on how many tournaments you play in, 40, 50, 60 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything else we want to touch on with this team before we kind of get into?
No, I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, I think they win gold. I think France wins silver, and I think I'm going to take Canada for bronze.
One more question. I'll let all of us answer. And end of the Olympics, who do you think is Team USA MVP? Who do you think is the most impactful player on the team?
I think it's Anthony Davis.
Okay. Sean?
I'm just gonna go with Edwards.
Okay. Parker, who do you think?
Since I'd probably go with Anthony Davis just for the fact that like they're probably gonna have to deal with either Wembanyama or Giannis or something. So like it's gonna be one of those big guys trying to guard them, I guess. And Jokic, so shit.
Yeah.
I'll go Davis.
I'm tempted to say LeBron, to be honest, because if for no other
I
reason,
can see that.
think people defer to him.
Yeah.
And if he is the connector, I could see him having games of like 15, 8 and 8 and everything. And
when the assholes get tight, if a game's close, they're gonna throw the ball to LeBron and start.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You saw it last night, just the way that Parker mentioned kind of the Swiss Army knife, where a lot of it was just him kind of starting the offense.
Mhm.
But the way he was still cutting to the rim and receiving the ball, like for everything they couldn't do last night offensively, they were so good at running their motion and cutting and stuff like that. And I thought that they were awesome there. So I'm excited for this team. I think it's gonna be really good. I do want to real quick touch on the women's team because we won't have as much of a deep dive as in the men's team, strictly because they're not losing to anybody.
Yeah, they just there's no threat. Yeah.
Literally, like, this is the roster. Nafisha Collier, Kalia Cooper, Chelsea Gray, Brittany Griner, Sabrina Ionescu, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Plum, who I am probably, I don't know, she might be my hall pass if I was allowed to have Brianna Stewart, Diana Taurasi, Alyssa Thomas, Asia Wilson, who's probably the best player in the WNBA, and Jackie Young. Guys, they're not losing by less than 15 in any game. Pool play, knockout rounds, no one is touching them.
No.
First off, I want to just mention, good take on the hall pass. Kelsey Plum is very fine. Darren Waller fumbled the bag. But next up, it's not a national game as it is on the men's side yet with women's.
Correct.
In terms of talent. It's not even close. You said 15. Most of the time they win these games by 40 to 50. And I mean, first of all, it's like pretty much a Las Vegas Aces, Phoenix Mercury,
New York Liberty
roster.
But it is, but like, why wouldn't you put Caitlin Clark on this team? I understand even if she's not one of the top 12, she's the most popular, would get more eyes on it more than anything. And you're going to win anyway. So I don't get it.
It's not like if she's not top 12, she's like 15
very
to 20
close,
range.
right?
She's not that far off.
Like it seems like like if not, it's a good, and it might be the right basketball move anyway. But if not, it's definitely the right marketing move on a team that's going to walk to gold anyway. Like I just didn't understand leaving her off.
Yeah, like Alyssa Thomas is not going to play for this team, and she's a former number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think their toughest competition might be their B team in the Senate. Like, I'm not even lying.
Their B team's playing. They have like a B team playing.
No, so like their bench unit is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
like, how do you do that? I was just confused. I was like, what?
Like the California Classic, the Kings Summer League team. Has
That's
two
what I
teams.
was thinking. I was like, you can do that in the Olympics? What the hell?
I mean, they probably should on the women's side for the sake it's the most entertaining game they would have.
You
Just
did
put them on
say-
each side, like.
You did say your point earlier about the All-Star game, but now the WNBA All-Star game doesn't mean anything because Asia Wilson's not an All-Star because she's on the Olympic team.
Yeah,
so like
that's true.
it's just I'm not a fan of that. It's weird. I saw that and it was like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, All-Stars. Like they're having pretty decent years, but like both of them are shooting sub 40% from the field. Like they're not having All-Star seasons per se.
I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be their starting five. So Sabrina, Kelsey Plum, for sure. Stewie.
Well, you wonder what they're going to do with Tarazi because, like,
Right, that's what I'm at.
do they give her the starting nod and like she's kind of the old guard or whatever, or does she become more of a victory symbol or something where she basically plays like 5 minutes a game or something? So
I bet you she'll still start, honestly, just for the simple
Maybe.
fact that she still like is a pretty decent player in the WNBA.
yeah, she's like 42, I think.
She averages 17, 5, and 3, which I'm pretty sure if you compare that to NBA is like 24, whatever and whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's way different, like the numbers.
Yeah.
She's WNBA's GOAT, for sure.
Yeah, that's like what
100%.
like
Mhm.
Asia Wilson I saw was averaging like 26 a game. That's like
Mhm.
35 in the NBA.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Asia Wilson's probably also the best player in the league. Though Sabrina might win MVP this year. She's balling.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I love
She
Sabrina.
is. I like her game a
Caitlin
lot.
Clark before Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, for
Literally,
sure.
literally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think people like. It feels like people already forgot about the Sabrina hype coming out of Oregon. What that was like.
Yeah, like it wasn't as much as Caitlin Clark, but she was hyped up too.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Yeah.
COVID just killed it
yeah.
because COVID killed her like rookie year. They had like
Yeah.
the bubble her rookie year and shit.
This is probably the year the Liberty win the title. Sean and I are actually going to see the Liberty here in a couple weeks. Kind of excited.
Where
Yes.
are you going to the Fever?
Yeah, they're playing September
Mhm.
11th. The Fever in the Liberty.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Never been to a WNBA game, so.
Yeah, neither have I.
I haven't been in a long time. I went a lot to the Chicago Sky. My brother used to work for the Chicago Sky many
Oh,
years
really?
ago. Shortly after
Neat.
the WNBA was formed, this is like 2008-ish, 2010, maybe something like that. And he used to work for them. So I went for a couple seasons. I went to probably like a quarter of the games.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, dudes. Well, we're very over time, but that's okay. Shall we draft?
Let's do it.
All right.
Do
it.
So our starting five this week is all-time NBA Olympic gold medalists. And like I said, I only listed the Americans because no one's going to draft Luis Scola from 2004. So
Why not?
Why not?
That's the other thing I find funny is we talk about the 2004 team because it's just like total disappointment. You know how many countries would be happy if their team won the bronze in basketball? And we're like, yeah, that team won bronze. We don't talk about them.
Also, because I was not alive. Well, I was alive, but I was an infant. I've never like actually looked at the numbers, and I saw some. LeBron, Carmelo, and D Wade barely freaking played, and they're
Yeah.
always the ones like blamed for it.
Larry Brown refused to play them.
Yeah.
To the point where Stephon Marbury, after they won bronze, apparently told those three in the locker room, you guys will never do shit in the NBA.
Wow.
How'd that go, Stephon? Well, you're the legend of Chinese basketball. All right, so since Kevin obviously is our guest this week, I thought it was only fair he got the first pick. I shuffled the
Quick clarifying question about the draft. Are we drafting the basketball players simply for their impact on the Olympics or their basketball career overall?
I don't care what you do.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Perfect.
Also, look at what I was putting these together. Can't believe Tim Duncan never won a gold medal. Kind of shocking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wild.
Yeah.
All right, so Kevin, Parker, Tim, Sean, and we're gonna snake it again. So
Go for it.
All right. I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys with the first pick because
Johnson.
no. This guy literally gave his leg for the Olympic team. I'm going to go Paul George with the number one pick.
Wow.
I saw that
He did give us like
Not only did he give his leg, but then he came back and was on the Olympic team again after that happened. That's a true American. I'm happy with him. My first pick.
You know what? I want to have fun with this draft. I'm not. Had so many drafts where we draft like Michael Jordan, LeBron. I'm having fun with my draft. My first pick, give me JaVale McGee, 2020 Olympian, at my starting center. I'm having fun with
Okay.
my roster.
All right.
Oh no, he's off the board.
Damn it. All right. In that case, I'm going to take the at the current moment, in my opinion, the greatest Olympic basketball player of all time for the U.S. I'm taking Carmelo Anthony.
I agree with you.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the best player of the 92 Olympics. I'm going with Chuck Barkley. Going with Chuck, dude. Chuck dominated, man. He was awesome.
He was awesome. That's the greatest
and-
sport of all time, the Olympics, too. I don't know who
I mean-
Angola is, but Angola's in trouble.
I mean, Barkley, he won in 92 and then he won again in 96. I mean, he went back.
I love the 96 team. I'm wearing the 96 team's jersey, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all right, I got one more here.
Yep.
All right, I'm taking my favorite center of all time. I'm taking Shaq.
All right.
Front line is short up.
So, friendly reminder, Michael Jordan only won 1 gold medal, and that's why he has not been taken yet. You bums.
True.
Hell, I took Carmelo. Give me LeBron.
But well, you're like taking this seriously, so
Yeah, I know.
It's like you're not playing fair.
Hey, we're having our different approaches to the draft. Kevin took somebody on one leg. I took JaVale McGee, Shaq and a full legend.
I haven't won a draft in a while, guys. I'm needing to pick up a W here.
He needs a win.
And when I make this graphic, so one of us has to look smart. All right, Parker.
All right. My next pick. It's another obscure pick here. I'm gonna go with 2008 Tayshaun Prince to be my small
Kind
forward.
of knew you were
Nice.
going that route.
Nice.
I like it. All right. So I like going obscure too, but because probably my favorite basketball player ever is still on the board, I got to go with Kobe for my second pick. Has nobody taken Durant?
Not yet.
No.
It's kind of sad that he's lasted this long, but I don't want to take him because I want to have more fun with it than this. I will go Christian Lichtner.
Damn
Okay.
it! That was my
Okay.
next pick.
I need a
Parker.
power forward. Like,
All right,
I
so
need
I
to
got
power forward.
and I need a power forward actually now to join my front court with JaVale McGee. Give me 08 Redeem Team Carlos Boozer. Come
Dude,
to the squad, baby.
he
my
was
favorite
really
Olympic.
good for that team. He
That's
was
my-
awesome
yeah.
for that team.
that's my favorite Olympic team. Is the
There will be no booze.
I was
bad
watching
talk.
LeBron 08 Olympic
Oh
highlights,
my
by
God,
the way.
they're unreal.
His athleticism is absurd.
It's so crazy.
Like some of the dunks he was literally just like going against like the Chinese team, just like bulldozing to the rim, left hand windmill, like casually on a half court drive.
As crazy as the dunks are, it's the blocks that really get
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
It's where it seems like
They're
he's actually
vicious.
like 4 feet above the guy who's laying the ball up. Like
Yeah.
it's just hilarious.
I think his reaction is my favorite in the 2008 games when Kobe just basically like ran over Powell. You just see LeBron's face of like
that's the best.
it's the best.
Mhm.
Well, hell, in that case, you mentioned I got to take my favorite basketball player of all time. I'm currently wearing his Olympic jersey. So give me Penny Hardaway to be my point guard.
Ah,
You took him right out from underneath me, man.
yeah.
Took him right out from underneath me.
Also, guys, want to mention real quick, by the way, look at the USA support by me today. You know,
Look at that.
Look
at that.
Michelob Ultra, if you want to sponsor, you know,
This is
What
the
do you
happy
post?
hour. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Light beer, you know.
can't go wrong.
it's good for a 10 p.m. happy hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to have fun. And while I no longer have his Team USA jersey from 1996, and I did once own it, this is a true story. For my shooting guard, I will be taking my favorite Kings player of all time, Mitch Richmond.
You had that jersey?
I did.
That's dope.
Sean
I know.
usually drafts obscure, anyways. To be
Right.
honest,
Yeah. I feel bad that I'm like destroying you guys in this draft right now, but
let
I
me
didn't
guess.
know-
Tim's
I didn't-
taking LeBron.
I already took him.
Oh, sorry. Let me guess. Who's available?
Michael
KD
Jordan and
still
Kobe
available?
Bryant and Kevin Durant are all still on the board.
No, Kobe's taken, right?
No,
Kobe's
Kobe. I
taken.
took, I
Kobe's
took
gone.
Kobe.
He took Kobe. He took Kobe.
Katie and Jordan are alive though.
Yeah. I hope Jordan goes undrafted.
That'd be so funny. People would be like, these idiots.
Who the hell's this Parker guy?
So, Sean, you have your 4th pick now, right?
Oh, all right. I need a point guard. I need a big man at the same time. So I'm taking Magic.
There you go.
So I have Penny, Carmelo, and LeBron. I'm going to take my other favorite player from the 96 team because Sean took Shaq. And I'm going to take Grant Hill.
Okay.
He was going to be my
Solid pick.
last pick. He was going to be my pick simply because I think he did such a good job constructing this team. More so than his contributions in 96.
96 team has the greatest Olympic jerseys of all time. It's the
They do.
the absolute best. And they should just wear
There's
this
no
forever.
argument.
Yeah. Wear them
Yeah,
forever.
No argument. No argument.
Literally, like, this is the coolest jersey. Like, I freaking love it.
It's so 90s.
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's so 90s.
I'm gonna go with Mr. Team USA. He's gonna be on the roster again. Give me Draymond Green, 2-time Olympian.
Very nice. Very nice.
I can't believe I'm getting this guy at this point.
My
And
team
it's-
has no shooting. This
and
team will
yeah,
be terrible.
it's
on
not.
the
No,
floor.
no. Like I'm gonna go with the guy on this list who has the single greatest Olympics highlight ever. Give me Vince Carter.
Oh shit!
Yep. Yep. Not
Not
wrong there.
How
gotta
did-
have it.
How did that team win gold? That team is like, that roster compared to the other ones besides 20, obviously, is like
Because he
Sharif Abdur-Rahim,
because he jumped over the center on every other team.
Vin Baker.
Vin Baker and Sharif Abdur-Rahim were like part of the front court of this team, and they won gold.
Gosh,
And I like those guys.
Yeah, no, I wanna take somebody fun with my last pick. I mean, and I'm really bummed you already took Penny Hardaway. So I'm gonna go. I need a center. Give me Hakeem. 'Cause
Damn it!
I'm not real sure how he's on the U.S. team anyway, but let's take him.
Dual citizenship, like Embiid. Yeah. The 96 team, literally, I say this all the time. David Robinson, Hakeem, and Shaq was their center rotation.
Yeah.
Who was matching that?
Yeah, that's crazy. This is my last pick. I need a point guard, and I think there's only one selection here. Give me 2012 Darren Williams to run the show.
Okay.
He was pretty good in that Olympics.
He was. He
Good.
played over James Harden, over Russell Westbrook, at
And
the
Chris
time.
Paul. Like, Chris Paul and him basically shared minutes.
Yeah, because that was the debate when I was like growing up: was who's the best point guard in the NBA, Chris Paul or Darren Williams? That was
That
a
debate
real
ended
thing.
Pretty quick.
It was a real thing for like 3 years.
It was, though, for sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
He was a dog back in the day.
All right, so I need a center to go with Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James.
Your team's kind of obscure. It's a little obscure.
Yeah. I guess I'll take the Admiral. I'll take David Robinson to be my 5. I win
Very
the draft.
nice.
All right. Give him a medal.
I mean, to be all honest though, that guy didn't really like basketball. So,
Nope. He's got a lot of titles to show.
yep. My up,
You're the last pick.
Reggie.
I thought about
Reggie.
it. Though. I thought
Reggie.
About it,
Got to have two shooters, man. Mitch Richmond and Reggie Miller. That's it, man. Lights out.
Who was
Lights out.
who was on your guys' big board that you didn't get to?
Michael Jordan? I don't know. You guys ever heard of that guy?
Kevin Durant.
They
That's-
were not on my big board.
we're gonna-
I had Harrison Barnes from the 16 Olympics on there. Keldon Johnson, of course. Jeremy Grant.
I seriously considered Jason Kidd because he's like my favorite point guard of all time. But
That would have been a great pick.
yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
not a,
yeah,
that's
I,
not a wrong
was trying to make fun picks, not great picks.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I guess I was the only one that came to win today, guys. I win
got-
group happy hour.
I have Draymond playing the shooting guard position, I think, on this roster.
Yeah, I don't have a point guard. I
have
guess
Grant-
I'll make Christian Lichter my point guard.
I
I
guess
got-
I have Carmelo Anthony playing the 2.
Yo, low key though, I'm not even gonna lie. Low key, my team can defend, man.
We gotta be able to do
Low-key,
something.
Tayshaun, Prince, and Draymond. Are you kidding me?
I think Sean might win silver in this draft after I get gold.
Yeah, I'm not meddling.
Yeah.
You're not meddling.
No, I'm
Well-
not meddling.
So,
I'm South Sudan here.
well, I'm stoked for the Olympics. I know we've got 3 more games in the USA Showcase because they're playing a couple games in Abu Dhabi early next week. So we're going to be kind of covering the games as they go. Obviously, next week we'll get back to Summer League as well because I know you guys just want to hear our riveting takes on how Kello Ware was the steal of the draft. But Kevin, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. It was really
Always.
awesome to have you. We're going to go ahead and wrap this week's edition of NBA Happy Hour up. We will keep you guys posted to the Olympics and then some. So everyone have a good night. And we will see you soon.
See you guys.
See ya.